Hi there, Maurice Trammell here again, author of Breaking the Spell of Religion and Healing the Trauma, with a new piece titled A Spiritual View of Religious Dominance. We are going to set the stage now for a new view of our role here on this earthly endeavor. We are going to reset the parameters to where they were originally before we incarnated on this planet. This adjustment is necessary because up till now, disinformation has been leading the way about who we are and why we are here. That needs to be corrected. And as we do so, you are urged to look to your heart for verification of these truths. We are humans because we, our spirit, chose to do so. In other words, we are spiritual beings first who have chosen a physical experience on this earthly plane. While religions, as we well know, have installed themselves as some kind of be-all and end-all, even though its very architects are spiritual beings as well. But ignoring this fact, religions have demonstrated themselves to be more interested in controlling people in order to sell their differing brands of so-called salvation, a need they totally invented. They, in turn, are no closer to such a reality than a buzzard is closer than us to the moon. Their claims are simply not possible and self-contradictory by virtue of their absurd standards, which are mired in doublespeak and claims such as, "You can't do this or that unless we say so," all of which are again totally invented. Religion has simply been feathering its own nest for centuries, and its chronic need for control and ownership of people. This has always been their mandate, or more accurately, their business model. Yes, business model. There's no other vantage point here for them other than these made-up claims that are based on so-called scripture and other either co-opted or invented references. Religions have installed themselves as purveyors of spiritual truth, which they never can be, since their only concern continues to be a craving for control over people in order to collect tribute. This is a heinous model, to say the least, having little to do with their so-called messages of piety and holiness, and everything to do with recruiting adherents and collecting money for their efforts. For millenniums now, this is how they have stayed in business. This is how they have assembled and grown their wealth. This is how they have applied their strategies, which have nothing to do with their proclamations about spirituality or personal development, but in actual fact are the very opposite. Religion is simply a sham, through and through, and has been so since their very inception, when they outright stole the majority of their ideas from so-called pagan traditions, which they cursed and then buried, and then upon which they built their churches. This is why and how the real spiritual part of we humans was co-opted and smothered in childhood. It has been said by various religious leaders throughout the ages that to own the child is to ultimately own the adult, man or woman, in later life. So for religion, crushing spirituality from birth forward has always been job number one. and accelerating that mandate along the way is how they have maintained their levels of control. They have no more connection to a person's genuine spiritual purpose and intent than that buzzard has to attending the moon. Zero, plain and simple. So how do we rescue ourselves from this atrocity? We do so in dealing with those layers of experience we acquired through their indoctrination efforts. We do so simply and surely as if we are dismantling a bomb. Yes. For example, these various layers of control were installed in steps as we matured through our childhood, all the while being applied subtly and yet liberally along the way. Now we as adults have accumulated layers of indoctrination and control messages that are all directly related to religious trauma, which so many of us have been exposed to and are currently becoming aware of. At some point, in adulthood at least, we begin to realize that such trauma lies brewing within. We've been reading books, we've heard talks, and we've visited websites about the matter. And this newly emerging reality has become a felt sense, one that we experience viscerally. Now we can begin to identify and then unravel these top layers of religious abuse and trauma. Now we can easily say to ourselves things like, yes, I have been damaged by religion. Yes, I feel ready to admit it. Yes, I feel that pain and hurt inside. Yes, I want to cry and scream as I need to. And yes, I am beginning to feel very angry about it all. As this process unfolds, every layer comes with an urge to correct, to cry out that felt pain, and to begin healing that deeper hurt that is now begging for attention. And then at some point, you might begin to feel quite uneasy as a deeper layer of experience is revealed, because it contains that burning rage that's been smoldering within since this trauma began. And you are now ready to explode, aiming your anger directly at those who abused you in the name of religion. Oh yes, that rage starts moving now, which is scary, of course. This sets off alarms that religion had already set in place, using guilt and shame as stopgaps to prevent you. But the rage delivers its underlying truth about you having been battered psychologically and emotionally, about you having been cast as a sinner, about you having been shamed by their definitions of sin, and are now being guilted for daring to challenge them and their wholesale abuse. But here's where you need to remember: you are disarming a bomb. So in spite of those alarms going off, you are ready to see and feel religion's deposits of abuse and trauma as you suffered and accumulated them over the years since your childhood. You have come to the point where you just couldn't stand it anymore and became wholly determined to face it and finally deal with it. Now, for those more recent arrivals into the clutches of religion, those individuals who chose it in adulthood, the layers are slightly different, but vastly similar in terms of long-term effects. Control and condemnation have done their work, and that once comforting pseudo-parent effect that religion had fostered is now wearing very thin. Once again, that sense of abuse and trauma is ready to be felt and seen, and then dealt with by this group of indoctrinated individuals as well. As already mentioned, trauma, religious or otherwise, lies in layers, and each layer comes with its own requirements for recognition, acceptance, purging, and healing. Again, be prepared for the rage, lying underneath all that hurt and needing to be let out safely, but not necessarily quietly if you are so moved. Scream if you want to. Smash a pillow. Write it out in a journal and burn the pages if that helps. Get it out in whatever method you prefer without hurting yourself or others, just for that feeling of release like you get after you've had a good unloading. Share with your therapist if necessary, or in a support group for trauma victims, of which there are now very, very much of them. Do whatever works for you. Just do it safely. And finally, this presentation is an overview, in broad strokes, of a formula for helping you return to that beautiful, nascent self inside. That's the deeper part of you waiting to be rescued and retrieved from under that pile of religious jargon you were saddled with. That inner you awaits with open arms, and yes, with something religion rarely, if ever, delivered. Love. Beautiful, innocent love. Yes, we are love at the bottom of all this. Yes, we are spiritual, as originally designed and sent scurrying about the cosmos. Yes, we are awakening now to that tragedy and false start called religion. Yes, we are recovering that beautiful, nascent self, our feeling heart, who knows only love. Yes, we are recovering, and soon we will show off that shiny new self, totally innocent, just waiting for us to love and accept them. Yes, home is where the heart is, and that original spiritual love is our home within. We may in fact be angels in disguise, and by healing those deep-seated wounds religion burdened us with, we return to our deepest inner truth. We are spiritual beings having an earthly experience, and this one has been a whopper.